Welcome in everybody to the series finale of the Coach KJ Carousel Dynasty. It's been a fantastic journey through all these years with the Penn State Nittany Lions and the Florida Gators, but it's all going to come to a conclusion today as we look to repeat and then go for a three-peat in our final two seasons that we're going to sim. I did play the first few games of the first season, however, unfortunately my emulator continued to give me issues, and then after playing one game 4 different times before it worked on the 5th try, and then the next game I played it 3 different times, and when it froze the 3rd time in the 4th quarter, I called it quits and said we're just going to sim this out and do 2 seasons. I decided to make them 1 episode. I was going to do it 2, but to me I'd rather just make it a really long episode and get through it all and be done with the series and give us a solid conclusion. We're going to aim for the repeat, and then we're going to look for the three-peat, and if we can't, we're going to try to get at least 2 trophies in this series. We don't have any Heisman Trophy winners, unfortunately. Maybe we can get one in the sim, but I'm not going to count that towards us. If I didn't play and earn the trophy, I don't think it counts. In the sim, it's kind of, whatever. I can't take credit for that. That's all what the computer can do. But either way, we're on to this season. It's a 45-0 victory over FCS West to begin our year. I gave us a cupcake. It was actually on accident. I made some changes to the schedule. We were supposed to take on FAU this week, so that way we could see Earl Brown the second. However, I screwed up, and that didn't end up happening. It is what it is. We got an easy victory. We'll take that. A cupcake's always good to have early in the season. It helps the team to build its confidence. That way they will perform better later on. And I would say a shutout will help us do that for sure, as we didn't have any forced fumbles. We didn't have any fumble recoveries, obviously, because we didn't force any fumbles, and we didn't have any defensive touchdowns. Looking at our kicking, Josh Williams hit a kick. We had 2 punts for MJ Bell Jr. Breland Brown took 1 for 28, and then 6 for 74 on punt returns. Coming out of week 1, this is what the Heisman standings look like. You can see Tyler Foster of Georgia moves back into the top 5. Next up, we're going to take on the Missouri Tigers. And as you can see, the Tigers are a pretty good team, but their offense is significantly worse than ours. We didn't give up any points on defense, so it's not really fair to judge off of that, but it ended up being another blowout victory for the Florida Gators. They took a 21-0 lead in the first quarter, and then they scored 10 more in the second, and they just poured it on late. This was a complete and utter blowout. Florida looks really, really strong this year, and honestly, with all the returning players we have, I do expect that, and I think that it's something the Gators should also expect. We're going for that repeat, and I think we have the team to repeat. Garcia ended up going 20-23 for 267 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. We brought in Brooks late, who got a touchdown pass. Marlowe had 87 yards on the ground. Blanks had 70 on the ground, 57 for Logan Houston on the ground. Receiving-wise, we still don't really have a star receiver out there. We do tend to share the rock quite a bit while I'm playing, and I think once we get into the sim, you'll see that changes quite a bit, and there's just nothing I can do about it. And honestly, at the end of the day, it may actually be what's better for the team in the long haul. It's kind of frustrating because I like so many of our receivers, but focusing on a guy and really running the offense through people does actually work when you think about it long term. Looking at the Heisman standings, we have DJ Ducree move up and Hayden Furman of Penn State move up into the top 5 at quarterback. Next up, though, we're going to be taking on Khalif Ramsey, the former Florida Gator quarterback. He has 4 touchdowns, no picks, 68% completion percentage. He's been doing some rushing on the ground. He looks pretty ugly in that Tennessee orange. I just got to be honest with you, but their offense has been effective. They are a very good team, and they're somebody that we have to watch out for. I did play this game, and I was excited to play this game because of Khalif Ramsey. Unfortunately, it made the most sense for him to transfer away, even though I didn't want to see him leave, as we're going to hand it to Marlowe here. This is one of the highlights. Marlowe's gone. This is going to be a long touchdown run. Nobody's going to catch him. Florida's going to get your early lead here, and they're probably going to run all over him, as that's Khalif Ramsey throwing a pick to Zach Poydras, and Poydras is going to outrun everybody and take it back to the house here. Florida's looking really good today. So again, looking at another highlight, we're going to see Ramsey passing the ball down the field, and that one's intercepted by Doug Kittrell. He did not have a good day. He ended up throwing like 4 interceptions, I believe, in this game, as Ramsey's going to get a touchdown pass here, though. We can see that was a wide open guy, and he put that pass on the money. That's what he's good at. As we're going to go underneath, it's Breland Brown returning from his injury, finally getting a highlight, cutting, juking, breaking a tackle, and Breland Brown is gone down the sideline. He has his speed back. He's looking healthy out there and making big plays for us. You love to see it. As we check it down here, that's going to be Murphy getting the reception, and Murphy getting the edge. Murphy looks like he is going to be gone on a screen touchdown. This game was a high scoring affair at the end of the day. There was nothing about this game that said, hey, defense might be good. There was a ton of turnovers. As you can see, we picked off Khalif Ramsey, but turnovers doesn't equal good defense if you ask me. Ramsey, again, looking for a little bit of redemption here, firing to the end zone. There's an open receiver, and that's another touchdown pass for Khalif Ramsey. However, here's the thing. It was a 56-28 final in this ball game. There was over 80 points scored. Defense didn't do much. There was a lot of interceptions. There was just a lot of bad play. Our offenses, though, were incredible, to be honest with you. Khalif Ramsey didn't have enough firepower, though, and like I said, he threw a bunch of interceptions in this game. Garcia played pretty good. We only threw 12 passes for 197 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. We played a bunch of backups. We had 200 yards on the ground with Marlowe and 3 scores. Guyassi Blanks added a score with 38 yards. Max Sickles, the freshman tight end, is incredible. He led us with 4 catches. 78 yards was a team high, though, and that was Breland Brown looking healthy coming off his injury. On defense, there wasn't a whole lot of crazy stats here, minus the interceptions. We had 5 TFLs. I think we had 2 sacks in this game. Yup, listen, being Poydras. And then the 4 interceptions. We had 2 by Poydras, 1 by Cottrell, and 1 by Bryce Miller. And as you can see, Ramsey redeemed himself, though, for the Volunteers. He finished 33 of 47 for 407 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 4 picks. And he hit 70% of his passes. So you know what? That's pretty impressive. The 4 interceptions were ugly. I'm not going to lie to you. But at the end of the day, his stat line was pretty good, and you got to give him credit. He redeemed himself. A lot of them picks actually came in the first half, and he settled in as we were heading into the second half, and he played much better. And you can see we ended up moving our record to 4-0 on the season now as the Florida Gators beat the Kentucky Wildcats 38-24. The Gators again jumped out early with the lead, and they just scored a ton of points in the first half and held on. Dana Ramsey had a great day with 15 of 23, 300 yards, 5 touchdowns. He did throw 3 picks. That was the ugly mark on his record. Marlowe over 100 yards again with 115. Guyassi Blanks looked pretty good. Jaden Norwood led us with 128 yards and 2 scores. Max Sickles scored a touchdown as well, the freshman tight end that I'm sad we don't get to use because I think this kid's going to be a huge part of the offense if I continued to play the games. He was incredible out there. He was always open, and I thought like Sam Freeman and honestly Kyle Hinder were good. He, I think, would have been a better tight end than Kyle Hinder in the long haul, but it is what it is. Gators are sitting at 4-0. And looking at the Heisman standings, we're still not getting any love here as Sione Murray of Tulane moves in the top 5. That's a team you don't see with a guy in the Heisman standings very often. Next up, though, it's the Oklahoma Sooners, and the Florida Gators are better than them. And it's a number 3 versus number 4 matchup. We look better than them on paper as well. We're a higher overall, and our offense has been unstoppable, and our defense has been incredible as well. The Sooners are also dealing with a bunch of injuries. We're still missing Tony Apu for this game, and it didn't end up mattering. We ended up pounding the Oklahoma Sooners and Heisman favorite DJ Dupree 45-14. This game was a complete and utter blowout. We had a ton of interceptions again. All of our great young corners showed up and played fantastic. We threw a couple picks with Dana Garcia, though. He finished with 297 yards, 3 touchdowns. On the ground, we were actually bottled up today. Marlowe got a touchdown, though. He just didn't get his, normal stats of right around 100 yards. We had 2 scores from Macario Dorba, and honestly, our offense wasn't that impressive, but it didn't have to be. Once again, we were in excellent field position most of the time because of turnovers. We had a ton of TFLs. I think we had 4 sacks or 5 sacks in this game. It was 4. We had Ford, Pierre, Lavender Green, and then Raymond Johnson. Interceptions, we ended up with 2, 3, 4, 5 in this game. Cottrell had 2 again. We ended up getting an upgrade for DC Ken Wilson. Let's go ahead and help our team out a little bit here. Let's put it into recharge. Nope, I changed my mind and put it in no-fly zone. That does actually make a ton of sense. Looking at your Heisman standings, we caused Dupree to fall. I don't know how he only fell 1 spot. That was a terrible game against us, and we absolutely burned him. That was the game I ended up having to play 5 times, and it just frustrated the heck out of me. And then this Auburn game is the first game where I ended up quitting and not being able to play because every stinking time I tried to play the game, it kept failing on me. And I gave up after like 7 times of the game failing. I figured it was time to start simming, and that's what we did here. We end up beating Auburn 35-21. Dana Garcia had himself a great day with 460 passing yards. The only frustrating thing is in the sim, we didn't run the ball very well, and we didn't run it enough. And Macario Dorba went off in this game with 200 yards and 2 scores. That was pretty impressive. Defensively, we look pretty good here, honestly. We had a sack from Norkeithius Moore. We also had a sack for Aka Cedric Williams. Overall, we had a really good day on defense. I mean, we only gave up 21 points, so that's certainly nothing to complain about. I don't see any more sacks, and I definitely don't see any interceptions. We'll take it, though. Carter Jake Jr. has an upgrade. We're going to put it in the pipelines, and he's officially done with his recruiting tree. And let's take a look at the Heisman standings. You can see nothing much changed. Hughes moved up, Hawthorne moved down. So next week, we're going to be taking on the La Tech Bulldogs. This should be a cupcake matchup. This should be a complete and utter blowout. La Tech's done decent, but at the end of the day, they're 3-5. They're a CUSA team. They're not as good as the Florida Gators. So we should go into this and blow them out, and that's exactly what we do. We improve our record to 7-0 on the season. It was a 56-24 final. The Gators got ahead of them early and then kind of let off the gas and let them get back into it a little bit, but they weren't even close. It was a good day on the ground for Gayassi Blanks. He actually had a ton of carries. Dorba, Houston, and Blanks through the air each had 100 yards, which is quite impressive. You don't see that very often. Aka Cedric Williams had 9 tackles in this game, which is also very impressive. Nelson Lohman and Sean Arp each had half a sack, which is pretty cool for one of our young D tackles to step up, and, Lohman doesn't get many sacks. Looking at the Heisman standings, we can see Dana Garcia has entered the top 5. Our 6'9", 223-pound senior quarterback is now a top 5 for the Heisman, and I think he was trending this way with me playing the games, but definitely being aided by the sim because we throw the ball so much more in the sim, and we are so darn good in the sim that he's going to put up some stats. And we've already started to notice that. Next up is going to be Georgia, who's 6-1. We do have some injury problems for this game. Ladarius Marlowe, Tony Apu probably will play. Lohman probably will play, and Allen probably will play. And it doesn't matter. It's a 51-28 Florida Gators victory. That's going to move us to 8-0, and we are the #1 team in the nation. We just knocked off the Bulldogs, and let me tell you, man, that was an impressive victory. Georgia's a good team, and we absolutely kicked their butt. I want to cuss, but I'll keep it PG here. Macario Dorba ended up with over 175 yards. We have been putting up some passing stats. Our ground game hasn't been the same, but we also don't run it as much. I did turn down how often we, are going to pass the ball because it was set really high because we are kind of an air raid offense, but it doesn't seem to matter. We're still chucking it all over the yard as Garcia's now moved up to number 3 in the Heisman standings. And this week, I believe he has a really good matchup to possibly get even higher as he's going to be taking on the Vanderbilt Commodores. And we have a significant advantage over them. So I think we'll be able to pass the ball, put up a ton of stats, and I think that it might be enough to get Garcia maybe into the first position or second position. We'll see. Marlowe's still out. Allen's still dealing with injuries, and we still blow out the Vanderbilt Commodores 52-23. Your Florida Gators are now 9-0, and we look like we're well on our way to a repeat this year. It is quite impressive how good this team is, and I knew we were going to be good for this 2-year stretch. I thought we could win one with Jack Garola before he went to the NFL. When we didn't, though, I knew we had a chance in a few years to get to the top, and I'm glad we did it. I just wish this season we could have been playing it instead of simming it out because I knew we had a 2-year stretch where we could possibly easily win a title each year, and getting a repeat would have been cool on channel, but if we can do it, I'll take it. That's still 2 titles for Carter Jake Jr. We're having a really good season so far, and I hope that it continues. Like I said, we have a tough game coming up down the stretch with Alabama. They always give us a lot of trouble. We know that they're one of the best teams in the country, and unfortunately, even with that good performance against Vanderbilt, we didn't move up with Dana Garcia, just the top adjusted. Now we get to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks, and this should be another easy blowout. South Carolina's really been very bad in this series. I didn't expect them to be this bad, ultimately. They just fell off a cliff. They didn't have good quarterback play at the beginning of it, and that ended up being what hurt them in the long term. They just never could really get their offense going, and it continues to be a problem for them as they dropped to 1-9 on the season with a 42-21 loss here to the Gators, who are still #1 in the nation and now 10-0 on the season. Garcia was awesome. Brooks was awesome. He played. We didn't do much on the ground. I hate that we're running our quarterbacks so much, but Macario Dorba has 194 yards and 3 scores on 12 catches. Talk about insane. He's been absolutely fantastic. We had a pick with Zach Poydras, half a sack with Jared Wells. So far, that's really it. Another half a sack with Josh Stewart, and that looks like that's it on defense. Nothing too crazy there. Looking at the Heisman standings, Garcia remains the same. It's just Remsburg and Murray also swapping once again. So we are really having a hard time getting into that top 3 as we're going to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide, who are basically equal to us. This is going to be a tough matchup, and this easily could be the first game we lose. They're sitting here at 9-1 on the season, and somehow they're ranked number 13. That doesn't seem fair at all. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. But the Florida Gators come out on top over the Alabama Crimson Tide, 38-31. This is a big victory for your Gators, and they should easily remain at number 1 in the nation. They're going to be 11-0 as they head in to take on Florida State next week. Dana Garcia threw 2 picks, but he had 342 yards passing, 51 yards on the ground, which I hate that we run him so much. That's not good. Macario Dorba with 143 yards and a score through the air has been pretty much awesome all season. Half a sack for Hussein Ford. We had a pick from Max Pierre. 13 tackles by Ford as well. That's impressive. We had a pick by Doug Cottrell. Half a sack for Josh Stewart. He hasn't been getting a ton of sacks, but he's been racking up the half sacks so far this season. And with that poor performance against Alabama where he threw 2 picks, he did drop to number 4. I just don't understand why he can't get higher. And we remain at number 1 as we look at the CFP to give you an idea who might get into the playoff. It looks like Tulane's going to be in North Carolina, Utah, Oklahoma State, Texas A&M, Georgia. Like, there's a lot of good teams here. UCF has a chance of getting in, but they're down to number 16 with a loss here late in the season. We'll see what happens as we're taking on the Florida State Seminoles this week. And they're a pretty bad team. We are way better than them. I do think we'll actually be able to blow them out and keep them from getting bowl eligible, which would be nice. You love to do that to your rival. It's one of the, your favorite things to do is just to step on them when they're down. And that's what we did. They did give us a heck of a game, and they took it to overtime. We ended up coming out on top, though, 45-38. That's going to send the Seminoles home for the season. And the Florida Gators are headed to the SEC championship game after this. And they're going to need to win that game in order to secure a first-round bye. I think they're in regardless. Even with a loss, there's no way they drop out of the top 12. So we're in the playoffs, and we feel pretty confident about that. The big thing is, like I said, let's get that first-round bye and make it a little bit easier on ourselves as we head into the Natty. Hopefully, that's where we're hoping to go. As Garcia jumps up with a big performance all the way up to number 2. It's only Sione Murray ahead of him, the quarterback of Tulane, who's currently sitting at number 2 and 12-0. Tulane's been awesome this season. North Carolina's good. Utah's good. Notre Dame's good. A&M's good. Georgia, Oklahoma, Pittsburgh. We'll have to see who wins some of these conference championship games because that ultimately affects how the playoffs end up being shown anyway. So heading into this game, we're not going to play it. We're going to sim it. I can't play the game, like I said. Every time I try to, it just fails. So we're hoping to maybe be able to watch a few plays here or there. I just don't want to test it and be in this game for too long or else we're going to have a ton of issues. So let's go ahead and sim the first quarter against A&M. And Florida's leading 7-0. We're up 10-0. That's a good start in this one. A&M answers. It's 10-7. Now it's 14-10, and then it became 17-14 at the end of the first quarter. Florida's leaving. Heading into the second quarter, it's 21-17 A&M. And Florida answers. It's 21-24. Florida leading. Now it's 28-24. Texas A&M. 31-24 A&M. Florida fails there. And it's going to be a field goal to end the half. It's 31-27. Texas A&M leading. This is a high-scoring game so far. 34-31. Florida's in the lead. A&M answers and retakes the lead. Florida retakes the lead. 48-38. Now it's a 10-point lead. Now it's 48-45 heading into the fourth quarter. What a game this has been. We're going to sim it out. A&M's leading now 52. Now they're behind 55. Now they're at 59-55, 62-55. Florida answers. It's 62 all here. This game is going to come to an end with the Florida Gators winning 69-62. This is probably the highest scoring conference championship game of all time. What a performance that was put out on the field by these teams. I can't believe how many points were scored. I did decide to turn the sim length down a minute because I felt like maybe that was part of it, but nobody was playing defense. So, it was easy for him to score. It was awesome to watch. Kevin Brooks ended up having to play the true freshman quarterback, and he did good with 2 touchdowns, no picks. Dana Garcia had 451 yards and 3 scores. He was awesome. Ladarius Marlowe over 100 yards. Garcia didn't run it as much in this style of sim, which is good. But Logan Houston had 259 yards receiving. That's freaking awesome, man. That's super impressive. Jared Wells had 14 tackles. Doug Cottrell with 12. 2 TFLs for Listenby, Wells, and Lohman. A sack for Holloway, Wells. And then we didn't have any interceptions in this one. But you can see your Heisman winner is going to end up being Dana Garcia, the quarterback of the Florida Gators, with 52 total scores. I'm sad I didn't get to win the Heisman with him. I think we were on our way with us playing it, but now we don't get to really claim this Heisman winner, but that's okay. He's going to be a Heisman winner when he heads into the NFL draft in our Raiders franchise, so that's going to be a cool storyline, and he's probably going to be the top quarterback in that class. Still doesn't have the strongest arm, which is going to be something that holds him back. Looking at our bracket, we're number 1. North Carolina is number 2. 8-9 is Pitt and Utah, so we'll take on the winner of that. I think Utah will win. 5 versus 12 is Tulane and A&M. I hope A&M loses. I don't think they will, though. 4 is UCF. 13 is UCLA. I think UCLA will win that one. I think Georgia over Washington. I think Oklahoma will probably beat Penn State as well, unfortunately. And I think Notre Dame will end up absolutely beating the snot out of Eastern Michigan, but one of them teams has to get in, so it kind of is what it is. Taking a look at our first team All-Americans, you have Dana Garcia, Hussein White, David Lukehart, our right tackle, Blake Listenby at D tackle, Nelson Lohman at linebacker, Poydras and Cottrell at corner, and then at safety, Pierre and Tony Apu. That's awesome. That's really impressive. Looking at the second team, we have wide receiver Macario Dorba. Don't know how he's not higher with the stats he put up down the stretch. Michael Van Dyke's also on there at guard. We have Hussein Ford at end, which is very impressive for a true freshman to be a second-team All-American. That's awesome, and honestly, I'm not, once again, not shocked. He was a fantastic recruit coming in, and he was somebody I was excited to use. At left tackle, it was Jacob Dorsa coming in on the first-team All-American. Of course, Hussein Ford. We also had Sean Arp and Benny Holloway, 2 young D tackles, which will help because both of them were below a 75, so it jumped them up to a 75 for us. Looking at some awards, Dana Garcia won the Maxwell Award. That's pretty cool. We so far don't have any other award winners. He finished second there. No Blitnikoff winner, no tight end winner, no O-line winner, which doesn't shock me, truthfully. Looking at defensively, we didn't win that. We didn't win that one. Thorpe, we won with Zach Poydras, which is nice. No kicker upon our award. And then Breland Brown won the Jet, which is the best returner. I also did forget to mention he was an All-American first-team player at kick returner. He's a fantastic athlete, and I'm glad he's back. Now, taking a look at the playoffs, we're going to take on Pitt, who knocked off Utah. That's going to be an impressive matchup, and I think we'll be able to easily win it. I don't think the ACC is that strong. Texas A&M did beat Tulane. Not shocked by that. It was closer than I expected. They're going to take on UCF, who beat UCLA. I guess I still think of UCF as a group of 5 team, and that's why I hold them back. Georgia did beat Washington, so they're going to take on UNC. Oklahoma lost to Penn State, so Penn State keeps on marching on, and they're going to end up taking on Notre Dame, who actually had a tougher game than I expected against Eastern Michigan. So let's go ahead and jump into this game versus Pitt. We're going to sim it like we did the last one. We're relatively healthy, but we lost Blake Listenby, which sucks, so now we're down to a bunch of young D tackles. Let's see how this first quarter goes. It looks like it's going to be a defensive battle here halfway through, and not much has happened. Florida finally takes the lead 7-0. Pitt marches down the field and gets a field goal, so it's going to be 7-3 as we start the second quarter here. And it's honestly looking like Pitt might take the lead, and they do with a 10-7 advantage now. And it's still that score halfway through the third quarter. Nothing's gone on, or second quarter, nothing's gone on. Now Florida finally answers late in the second quarter. It's 14-13 though as we head into halftime. Florida is leading. Let's see what happens in the third quarter. And the Panthers answer quick. Answer again. It's 23-14. Now it's 23-21 Pitt. And we're heading into the fourth quarter with the Gators taking the lead 29-23. 1 quarter to go. We fought our way back, and we score quick. It's 35-23. It looks like Florida took complete control of this one as it's now 42-23. This one here can go right to the end. I don't see Pitt coming back. It's a 12-point game. There's still 6 minutes left, so I guess they could. But we're marching. Let's answer and punch it in. We can't. Pitt has a shot now, but it looks like they went 3 and out quickly, and we're marching, and we score again. It's 49-30 with 2:31 left in this game. I would say this one's over. It looks like your Florida Gators are going to advance on, and they do. Coach Carter Jake Jr. continues his march in the postseason. It's a 49-37 Florida Gators victory. Our defense hasn't shown up so far, which is kind of scary and something that I worry when we take on a better team like possibly Texas A&M again, because I don't know if we face them again, are we going to be able to outscore them like we did last time? Garcia was awesome with 5 touchdowns. He did throw a pick. Marlowe with 144 yards on the ground and a score. Through the air, it was Logan Houston and Macario Mario Dorba each going over 100. Dorba had 171 yards, and we had 3 touchdown receptions for a player in this game as well. And for some reason, I couldn't remember his name. It was Jaden Norwood who had 11, or I mean 3. I don't know where 11 came from touchdowns. Looking at defensively, we had 4 TFLs for Sean Arp. That's awesome. 2 of them were sacks. A sack from Benny Holloway, a pick by Loman, and a pick by Wells. That really helped us as we beat the Pitt Panthers. Now we have to take on the Aggies again. I'm not looking forward to this matchup as they pounded UCF. This is going to be a tough ball game. Looking at the other side of the bracket, it's UNC knocking off Georgia in a high-scoring affair, and they're going to take on Penn State, who beat Notre Dame 49-35. So there's a chance we could have a rematch in the title game here. As long as we take care of business and Penn State takes care of business, we'll have to see what happens, though, as we're going to take on Texas A&M, who we know is slightly worse than us, but man, they can score some points, and they gave us everything we had in that high-scoring SEC championship affair. So I'm not looking forward to this. We are dealing with a ton of injuries, though. 2 across their O-line, David Lukehart and Jacob Dorsa. And they also have some injuries, but we're in trouble with Listenby also out. I'm a little worried about this team. Health is going to be a factor as we're leading 3-0, and it looks like A&M couldn't answer on that drive. That's big as it ends up being a 10-0 Florida lead as we start the second quarter. It looks like we're marching here, and we're going to take a 17-0 lead. A&M finally answers. It's 17-7, but we score again, make it 24-7. A&M answers again, though. It's 24-14, but we screw up right before halftime. That should have at least been a field goal. So it is what it is. What are we going to do? They have the ball. Nothing's happening here in the third quarter. Everything's kind of just back and forth. Score basically staying still. So it looks like we're not going to have the high scoring affair we had last time. A&M answers and then answers again, but we answer to end the third quarter. It's 31-27. We might actually end up scoring more points than I thought. We'll have to see what happens here, as we're going to go kind of slow here and do possession by possession. I don't really know who has ball. I'm not going to lie to you. It looks like we fumbled, or they fumbled and we recovered it, and we score, making it 38-27. Now we're moving, or they're moving the ball and they get stopped. They ended up punting it to us. Let's see if we can score a touchdown and put them away. We cannot. So they have another chance. They can't do anything with it. We have the ball again, and we get some more points. It's 41-27. We have 45 seconds left in this ball game, as that's going to be a spike. I don't know what they're doing there. It's 41-34. A&M has a chance. So let's see what Horsey can do here at quarterback. He's feeling some pressure from Hussein Ford. He throws it underneath, and Zach Poydras picks it off. That's going to be your ball game. A&M season's over. There was 4 turnovers in this game, and the Gators are going to head back to the national championship to take on either North Carolina or the Penn State Nittany Lions once again, and we still have a chance to repeat. This ended up being a good game. Texas A&M scored some points late, and they made it closer than what I thought it would be. We're able to jump into this one and watch a little bit of gameplay, which is always nice. Garcia had himself a good day. Marlowe had a good day on the ground as well. Through the air, Dorba, 167 and a score. Houston had 2 scores and 86 yards. Norwood was pretty good through the air as well. Van Dyke was great blocking with 6 pancakes. Defensively, Jared Wells had 15 tackles, 10 for Benny Holloway, 9 for Norkeithius Moore, 3 TFLs for Holloway, Moore, and Wells. And each one of them players also had a sack, which is pretty awesome. We had 2 picks, 1 for Loman, 1 for Zach Poydras, which sealed it to send us back to the national title game, where we will take on the North Carolina Tar Heels after they beat Penn State 31-19. We're going to take on another ACC opponent, and we actually had a pretty tough time with Pitt, so I expect this to probably be a high-scoring affair, and I'm excited to get into it. It looks like we have a pretty significant advantage in this game, truthfully, but I do think North Carolina is still going to give us some trouble. We're a 99 overall team, but we've actually allowed a lot of points on defense, so we'll have to see. North Carolina is a good team. They're relatively healthy coming in. We're still dealing with our injuries across the O-line, which will have a pretty big impact on us, honestly. I'm afraid that could be our kryptonite and how teams are sticking with us more than they should. Let's start it off here, and it's 2-0 Florida with a safety, and now it's 9-0. That's a weird score here to start the day. It's 9-7. Florida driving late. They couldn't do anything with it. It looks like at the end of one, your score is going to be 9-7. Florida leading this one. Let's see how the second quarter goes. It looks like it's going to become 14-9. North Carolina takes the lead. Florida can't answer, and they still can't answer. They finally do. It's 16-14 late, and that is likely going to be your halftime score, and it is, as it looks like we made a mistake again right around halftime, and we should have got some points there and didn't. So how's the third quarter go? Florida answers. It's 23-21 now. It's still that score. It's kind of hanging tight there. This has been a defensive battle. Surprisingly, it's Florida takes the lead and extends it further. 30-21 here. It's in the fourth quarter. It's 30-28. This is a close matchup. We're going to have to watch some of this game. Garcia looking to pass here. He checks it down underneath, and out of bounds goes Logan Houston after picking up 2. That gives him the all-time passing record for a game with 522 yards. He broke Tim Tebow's record. I'm not surprised he's chucking it all over the yard in this game as Garcia throws it underneath. Jaden Norwood holds on. That's just a 2-yard gain, though. So it's now 3rd and 5. What can the Gators do? Garcia's going to pass, and he misses his target. Logan Houston was open. We got to punt the ball back to the Tar Heels, and they have a chance to answer as Masai Perry, who finished number 5 in the Heisman voting, is going to tuck and run, which is one of his strengths. Run over Nelson Lohman and get a few extra yards. That's going to be a first down. He is fantastic on the ground with 1,300 yards and 11 scores. We got to have a spy out there, and we got to make the tackle when we hit him as he's going to pass it out to his receiver here, who catches it right around midfield, bringing up 2nd and 5 now. Back to the ground game to their running back here, who's actually the backup because their starter's out for 9 weeks as he's going to pick up 3, bringing up 3rd and 2. Masai Perry looking to pass here. We send some pressure at him. He's got to find an open receiver down the field who goes out of bounds at the 28-yard line. Big play for the Tar Heels. They're looking like they might be able to take the lead as they go back to the ground for a 2-yard gain. 5:29 left in this game. Masai Perry passing, going to the sideline here. He has an open receiver. That wasn't a great throw, though. That could have been much bigger if he'd have had a better pass on that one. So 3rd and 6 now. Perry by himself looking to pass. He has an open receiver again, and that's going to be a first down to like the 15-yard line, maybe the 16-yard line. Perry looking to pass here. He has a little bit of pressure coming in on him, and he just checks it down. They basically pick up nothing on that play. I guess they give him 2. That's it, though. They're going to send a guy in motion. They're going to hand it off to him, and I think that's going to be a bad play. It was. Zach Poydras read that perfectly and decked him. 3rd and 10 now for the Tar Heels. Looking to pass. He's going to throw it underneath, and that's not going to work. They're going to end up having to settle for 3. But with just about 4 minutes left in this ball game, the Tar Heels will take the lead as that field goal goes through. It's 31-30. Dana Garcia and the Gators have to answer, else their chance of repeating is dead. And we started off terribly as Garcia is going to take a 6-yard loss on a bad sack. So now we have a ton of yards to make up as Garcia is standing in the pocket, and he just checks it down. That's Mason Sickles, our young tight end, making the reception. Or sorry, Max Sickles. I don't know where Mason came from there. Sickles is going to go in motion. It's 3rd and 12 now for the Gators. It looks like, it's play action. I thought we were going to run it as Garcia fires it. That's Macario Dorba coming open, and Dorba's flying down the sideline. He's at the 20, the 15, one man to beat, and he's taken down at the 9-yard line. That's a huge play for the Florida Gators, and that's going to break the all-time passing record for the NCAA for a single season. Dana Garcia has 5,900 yards passing as it's going to be 1st and goal here for the Gators. And he's looking to pass. He goes to the end zone. Sickles, I guess, couldn't come down with it. That would have been a nice play. That was a great throw. So 2nd and goal, play action. We're going to check it down underneath. That play didn't really work out at all. Austin Moncrief, a young receiver with the reception. 3rd and goal. We're going to go to Marlowe on the ground, and Marlowe cannot get in. He's taken down just shy of the goal line. That's a 5-yard pickup, but it's 4th and goal, and we're going to settle for the field goal. It looks like there's a penalty, though. It's going to be a false start on us. That's okay, honestly. It's going to back us up a little bit. It's still a chip shot, easy field goal. The kick's up. The kick is good. The problem is the North Carolina Tar Heels have 1:11 to get a field goal. So Masai Perry looking to pass, as you would expect in this situation, but he decides to tuck and run, and Hussein Ford gets the sack. That's going to be a 3-yard loss. So 25 seconds left in this game. The Tar Heels screwed up the clock royally here. That's a bad pass. They're down to 21 seconds. It's 3rd and 13. Perry looking to pass. He's going to throw a screen out there that goes nowhere. That's blown up immediately. It's 4th and 16 now. This is your ball game. What can Perry do? He's moving in the pocket. He's going to chuck it deep. He has a man over there, but he underthrew it. This game's over. Your Florida Gators are going to end up repeating. Coach KJ has back-to-back national championships. Dana Garcia is now a 2-time champion. Ladarius Marlowe, Nelson Lohman, Macario Dorba, all these guys that returned that could have went to the NFL ended up getting their 2nd straight national championship. So now in this episode, we're going to have a chance to go for the 3-peat. I don't know if we'll be able to do it because there's going to be a lot of turnover off of this team, and there's going to be a lot of guys going pro, but we're dang sure going to try, and hopefully we can get a few guys back so that way we can get a 3-peat. That would be absolutely incredible, as Dana Garcia went absolutely off with 600 yards and 4 touchdowns in the title game. And as you can see, we're going to get the hoist up, the BCS crystal ball for hopefully not the final time, but this will be the final episode where we're hoisting that up, as we're going to have the new college football championship trophy in EA Sports College Football 25. That'll be out before you know it. And if you're still here and don't know, we're going to be doing a team builder team in that dynasty, and I'm excited for it. We're going to be the Indian River Bull Sharks, and I'm still tinkering with things. I like the plain IR logo, but I am debating maybe making it a little bit more complex and doing like an actual shark. We'll see. I got our colors figured out. It's going to be an exciting time, though, to get this new game out and be able to utilize all the new features and all the things that have changed in college football since we had a game. You know, it's been 10 years, so I'm just excited for everything new, and I'm excited to get to it. We're going to have a little bit of a layoff between college football content, though, until that game comes out. And as soon as it does, though, we're going to be heavy on it. So for now, it's going to be a lot of Raiders franchise. We might do some videos talking about what they've released for college football 25. That's not really my thing. I'm not much of an information channel because, well, I get my information same way you guys do, by reading and talking to the people that actually went and got the information. So I don't feel like I'm probably the best person to give the information. As we take a look at our final bracket here, 33-31 to your final, and your Florida Gators are back-to-back national champions. That is incredible and super impressive. I'm so proud of this team, and I'm gonna miss playing this game. And I want to say in this video here, I just want to thank the college football revamp team, because this has been awesome. The fact that we were able to do a playoff and all this is just incredible in an old game, and I'm really thankful for all the work they did and everything they did to keep this game alive, because at the end of the day, you know, they could not have, and it probably would have affected the new game when it came out, because I don't think the new game would be as good and as detailed as it is if we didn't have people doing this and showing what they could do to an old game. And it really pushed the devs, I think, to make the new game awesome. I could be wrong, but that's just my thought. I'm thankful, though, for your guys' work, and if any of you are here, thank you, and I appreciate it. College football revamped will always be awesome and always have a close place to my heart, and I'm just thankful that we got to experience it. But I'm excited for the new game, and that's what it's going to be going forward. Like I said, Raiders franchise, and then we're on to the new game. The Gators gave Coach Carter Jake Jr. another extension, as we're going to go ahead and look at the players leaving. Markeithius Moore, Max Pierre, Nelson Lohman, Doug Cottrell, Hassan White, Joshua Williams, Jared Wells, Jaden Norwood, and Aka Cedric Williams all go pro. I'll be honest with you, there's no way this team's going to end up repeating. We're losing our quarterback. We did get Tony Apu back, which was a shock, but I'll take it. He can return. I just don't think this team's going to repeat. We might even actually consider Apu going to the draft anyway, because I'm not impressed with what we're getting back on this team. We lost way too much to be a good team next year, and that's ultimately why I decided 2 seasons was enough. We lost so many good players that, you know, we really don't have a lot of the heartbeat of the team left. Like, we have some good receivers back. We still have Ladarius Marlowe, and that's why I did another season, because I wanted to finish their story and, of course, go for the three-peat. But as we're looking at this team, there's no way we're going to repeat. This team is not nearly good enough to repeat. I wish they were, but we lost way too much talent. We are way behind the ball of where I was hoping we would be, and, you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. We're going to still try. I just don't think this team's going to be that good. I think we lost immense amounts of talents on both offense and defense, and that's really going to be hard to overcome. We all know that. So we do have a few good freshmen coming in, and I mean really good freshmen coming in. So there's a chance that'll help our team out as well. We're going to move Jonah Stepp from middle linebacker to outside linebacker, so that way he can actually get some playing time. He's been a good backup for us. He's somebody that I'm surprised didn't transfer away, to be honest with you, but he decided to stick around. We're much weaker in the secondary this year, so Lavender Green's going to end up getting moved over to free safety and end up being our starter this year probably, as long as he doesn't go down when we do our upgrades here. It's definitely going to be a different team, and like I said, I just don't feel confident we're going to be able to get the three-peat. We haven't recruited like that. We definitely didn't recruit up to the level that I hoped we would when we took over this series. I thought we'd be able to continue this trend forward, but hey, it is what it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at our upgrades. Brooks is all the way up to an 86 at quarterback. He's a really good player that I wish I would have been able to play with more. Marlowe's up to an 86 at halfback, and you can see everybody else still pretty good. Jacob Manziel's a good player. He got a +6, and he's all the way up to an 81 overall. We got Jensen Skalski up to a 91, Breland Brown up to an 88, a Marion Eason, a true freshman, up to an 88, Nate Johnson, Tommy Taylor's up to an 83 as a junior. He's a fantastic player. I think he's going to end up being a good player in the NFL. He'll probably be a late round pick, but he could be a steal when his time comes. I'll be honest with you, though, I don't know if we'll ever see that time, which kind of sucks, but all good things must come to an end, and I don't think I'm going to get through that many more seasons of Raiders franchise. I'm hoping to get through at least 2, maybe 3 more before I do a long-term sim. We'll see, though. That's a long ways away. I'm going to have some time here, and maybe I can pump a few episodes out and get us going pretty quickly here while I wait for the new college football game to come out, because once that game's out, man, we're all in on it, like I said, and I'm excited for it. Looking at this team, though, Listenby's all the way up to a 96 overall. Would not have guessed that. He has been incredible. Jonas Stepp jumps up 6 to an 83. Maybe we should have moved him to outside backer sooner. Maringer's up to an 85. We're way weaker at corner this year. That's going to be one of the biggest drawbacks we have. And one of the things that scares me the most is Lavender Green's up to a 75, and he is going to be our starting free safety. I can't believe Tony Apu came back and he didn't get any better. He ends up at a 90 overall. That's definitely disappointing if you ask me. So we're just looking at team quick, and we're going to throw some red shirts. Keyshawn Jones, somebody we recruited. And this is more so for you guys to be able to see the players and not so much about like who I'm redshirting, because obviously that don't matter. I just wanted you guys to be able to see the team and actually look at like how they are, what their overalls are, where they fit in, what our team looks like as a complete unit. And honestly, it looks a lot weaker. Our receiving core is still very good, but we have a lot of holes on this team, and that's something that scares me. I don't feel confident that this year we're going to be able to get our three-peat and get another title, because I'm looking at this team and all I see is a whole lot of red flags, if I'm being honest with you. We're still good, and we'll still probably be able to win 8 games if I had to guess. Maybe 9, but I don't think that we're a 10-win team, and I definitely think you need to be a 10-win team in order to get into the playoffs. So I just don't feel confident, and I'll be honest with you, if we don't make the playoffs, I'm probably not going to do a playoff. I'll just sim the national title, jump ahead, see who goes pro, and probably end it there and call our journey complete. Coach KJ has been an excellent coach, and he has a chance now to get a three-peat, and I hope we can do it. We have a chance. I just don't think we have a good enough team. Our corner, looking at our corner position, just how weak that is. I mean, it's safety. The secondary's always been a strength for us. We did a great job early on here getting a bunch of good guys in, and now all of a sudden that's a hole on this team. As we look at schedule, we're taking on North Carolina to begin the year. We have UAB in a non-conference game. We have our typical conference slate, which, isn't anything too crazy, and we end with Florida State. So this is definitely going to be a tough season for us, but we'll have to see how everything goes. North Carolina to starts, maybe not the best decision, but they were automatically generated on there, and I decided, you know what? Let's leave them on there and see if we can beat them back-to-back, basically. Maybe I am being a little too hard on our team as I look at the overalls. Like, we're clearly not a 99, and maybe that's what has me a little more apprehensive than I should be. We're actually still a really good team. We're projected as the number 1 team to start the year. North Carolina is number 2, and we're going to start simming here, and we lose to North Carolina in week 1. That was kind of one of my fears. Like I said, our quarterback play is just not up to par. We're definitely still capable of being a good team, but that's a disappointing loss. Next up's UAB. We should win this one, and I really hope that if we don't struggle, we're not going to check box scores, really. This season's all about let's try to get through it quick, and then let's try to finish off this season, and let's get out of here, I don't want to hang around too much as stuff like this is happening. We beat UAB 38-36. There is absolutely no way this game should be that close, and maybe my concerns about this team are correct. I don't know, though. That just feels like one of them weird results where a team you pay to come take you on ends up giving you everything you got. Look at Texas A&M losing to App State a few years ago. That's something that comes to mind. Maybe we overlooked them a little bit and we paid them, and they came in with a chip on their shoulder and they played great. Next up's Missouri, and we beat them by 10. That's a kind of a lower SEC opponent, if you ask me. They're not as good as they used to be. We moved them out to the West, and they've struggled in the West, honestly. They've kind of been one of the bottom feeder teams over there. It's quite disappointing. Once again, I thought they'd be a better team. Next up's Tennessee. They no longer have Khalif Ramsey. He decided to go pro as a junior, if I remember properly, so we don't have to take him on, which is both good and bad. We destroyed him last year, truthfully, and we were able to pick him off, and we dominated Tennessee this year, 59-28, so that's cool. We got another victory. We still are sitting at 3-1. We're probably a top 10 team if I had to guess. We only lost to the team that ended up being number 1 after they beat us. So I feel pretty confident as we're still simming ahead here. Next up's Kentucky. Kentucky's been bad, and we've been able to beat them quite a bit. Hopefully we continue that trend here and we knock them off. I don't expect them to give us much competition. They're, once again, still a bad team. If we lose this one, it would be a pretty big upset, and that's what happens. 46-42, that's a big upset. We have to go perfect the rest of the way. We have to take on Alabama still. I don't like that matchup. Alabama's one of the better teams that we face, along with Georgia. So if we lose either one of them games, I'm not confident we'll even be able to get into the playoff. Definitely, if we have another upset along the way, we're in deep trouble. LSU's up next. They're good. I think, though, we've been able to beat LSU pretty consistently. They've been bad in the sim, so hopefully that means good things for us as we sim it out. At the end of the day, if they're not doing good in sim, I don't see how they'd be able to beat us. They're a good team, though, overall wise, and I guess that comes back to bite us as we lose this one 54-48. And our secondary is honestly what looks like it's killing us. That was my concern all along. Our front seven actually was pretty good as I think back and look at team, and our offense is pretty good. We lost a lot of good players, but we also did replace them with pretty good players, and we had some key guys come back. We just can't do anything on defense, and our secondary is getting burned, and that's disappointing. And at the end of the day, that's on me. I didn't recruit well enough in our secondary. I definitely didn't position us well enough for the future. I didn't stagger the classes. I think I went a little too heavy early on, got a bunch of guys because it was such a weakness, and I never backfilled it with talent for the future. And that's what happens. Now we're currently sitting at 3-3. We're going to take a quick look around real quick, and then we're going to advance ahead into the future. And not surprisingly, we are unranked. We are missing Marquette Russell for 8 weeks due to injury, and we're taking on a poor Vanderbilt team. And we do beat them, which is good, so that moves us to 4-3 on the season. We have a chance to rebound. Maybe 9 wins can get us in if we can somehow win the East and get ourselves into the playoffs with an SEC victory, but I am not confident. And definitely if we lose another one, it's going to be a real disappointing season, and not the way Coach KJ wanted to go out, honestly. But at the end of the day, it is kind of just how that works sometimes. You fill your team and you load up to win titles, and at the end of the day, that works out. And on the backside, you have struggles replacing that team, and look what happened with LSU. Ed Orgeron ended up losing his job because that team was so loaded for that short little stretch with Joe Burrow, and then they just couldn't bounce back when they lost some guys. They didn't have enough people there and ready to go. So now, they bring in Brian Kelly, and we'll see what happens as we knock off Auburn, and that's going to go ahead and move us up to 5-3 on the season. That's good. That keeps us in it, and that keeps our hopes alive, as I believe next week's our Georgia game, which it is. They're currently ranked number 3 in the nation. They're one of the better teams per usual. They have a really good quarterback. It's no longer Tyler Foster as he's gone off to the NFL, but their backup and their replacement is a good player, so I'm not excited to have to take on Georgia. They're one of the best teams, and they dominated us. That's disappointing, and that basically puts a fork in us. We're down to 5-4 on the season. We'll be a bowl team, I can guarantee that, but I don't think this season's going to go the way we wanted. We're not a playoff team anymore, and it's a disappointing end, which is why I'm kind of happy that I decided to end it now instead of continuing to sim ahead into the future more, because it's a disappointing result, truthfully. And I'm afraid this team would have deteriorated more over time, as next up, we're going to take on South Carolina. And we had a bye week. Hopefully that helps this team refocus, and we can come in and dominate a poor South Carolina team. And that's exactly what we do. So we rebound. We get our 6th victory on the season. That puts us at 6-4 with Alabama and Florida State to go. Maybe we finish at 8-4. We're probably not going to win the SEC East, so I don't see a way into the playoff. But at the very least, 8-4 would be very respectable. Get a bowl game, maybe get a win, and end up with 9 wins would be a top 25 team, and I would truthfully be happy with that for Coach KJ. This is going to be a huge matchup, as Alabama was ranked number 1. I don't know quite where they stand right now, as we're going to take them on, and this matchup is going to really decide how we feel about our season. If we can knock them off, we're going to feel much better than what we do currently, and we don't. We end up getting dominated, which kind of puts us down in the dumps and makes us feel even worse. That's very disappointing. At best, we're going to finish 8-5 if we can win our bowl game. In all likelihood, we're going to probably finish 7-5, 7-6. So that's definitely a down year. And, that's what happens when you, like I said, don't quite build your team right. We built it quite heavily for that one little time frame, and we didn't backfill positions across the board. We were trying to be smart and not have to cut players, but I think I kept too many players that were good at receiver and kept recruiting them when I probably shouldn't have. We end up beating Florida State. We finished the regular season 7-5, so now we have a chance to go to the bowl season and see what happens. If we get lucky, maybe we can finish the season with 8 victories and we can feel better about ourselves. At the end of the day, though, that's a disappointing result for this team, and I think Coach KJ expected more. We're not going to get our 3-peat, but hey, a repeat's pretty cool, and we still managed to do that in this episode. This right here is just an overview of how our season kind of went, and, we had some ups and downs. We had some lulls. We lost 2 out of 3. We lost 2 in a row at different points, and you know what? That cost us ultimately at the end of the day. We finished 7-5, 4th place in the SEC East. We still have Kevin Brooks finish number 3 in the Heisman, as Oklahoma State's running back ends up winning it all. Brooks had a good season. He deserves a ton of credit. We should have probably run him a little bit more from the quarterback position. Actually, he ends up finishing 5th. I was wrong. But either way, he should have ended up getting more carries and contributed more in the ground game because he was a really good runner, and I don't think we fully utilized him right. As he won a bunch of QB awards, and that's really awesome. It's going to be Miami taking on Oklahoma State for the national championship. Like I said, we're not going to bother doing the playoff. It's something that's just not feeling worth it to me. I want to finish it off and just move on past this. We'll see if Miami can win one. That would definitely be interesting. Hopefully not. I definitely don't want to see that. And we do win our bowl game 48-21 over Utah, which is good. We finish our regular season 8-5 for our total record. The national championship is a Miami Hurricanes victory. They end up winning 27-22. So now 2 teams from Florida have won. Last 3 years have all been teams from Florida winning the title, which is awesome. You love to see it, and that really brings the Florida rivalries and matchups back to the forefront, and it reminds me a lot of how it used to be in the 90s, which is really cool. And guys, I want to start my final ode to this by just thanking you for watching and following along. Hopefully this is a satisfying conclusion to the Coach KJ Carousel Dynasty. I appreciate everybody for following along. Like I said, we're going to have a new dynasty coming out on the college football game that'll be out here on the 16th, so hopefully we can get that series rolling along quickly. This series was really fun, though, and I'm excited that I was able to bring it to you, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I loved College Football Revamped, but I'm excited to move on to the next phase of this and, get ready for this new college football game and celebrate Coach KJ a little bit. I don't think we had quite the level of success I was hoping for. I thought we could win a couple natties while we were playing it. Unfortunately, we just couldn't do that. I really enjoyed playing this series, though, and I'm excited to be able to move on to the next phase of the channel and head into a new college football game, and hopefully that helps the channel grow. My goal, as always, is to try to improve, so I want to know if you guys have any feedback on what I can do better in the next game, what I can do better to make my channel grow better, because I've kind of stalled a little bit lately, and I'm hoping it's just because everybody's kind of sick of College Football Revamped while waiting for the new game, and I decided to go ahead and finish the series out anyway. But if you guys have any suggestions, I would appreciate it, because ultimately, I want to just make everything about you guys and make sure everybody watching this is enjoying themselves and has had a good time with the series. So if I can improve, I would like to know how. Leave any comments, suggestions down below. I'm looking for serious feedback, and I would appreciate it if you take a few seconds to do that for me. It's one of the most important things you can do as any sort of content creator is look for ways to improve, and I'm looking for your suggestions because you're the audience and you're the people I'm looking to watch the content and go along on this journey with me. So if you guys have any ideas, just let me know. I would appreciate it. But I want to thank you guys for watching the Carter Jake Jr. Dynasty here on College Football Revamped. It was a blast making it, and I wish every one of you the best. Have a great day, and I'll be back with more Raiders franchise soon. I'm out.